Hello, 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 and good evening. This is video 761. It is August 3rd, and I felt the need a little bit to make an update. If you'll pardon my voice, it is very raspy today. I kind of wore it out this morning, and it just hasn't recovered yet, so it's very, very low and very resonating. But I don't normally talk like this. This would not be my voice. This is my voice up here, and that's the truth. uh, you can hear, this is my normal range. Is not trying to change anything. Um, but anyway, wanted to just make kind of a bit of an update video. It's becoming kind of increasingly hard to make videos a little bit because there's a lot of stuff kind of going on in my life, and I want to respect the privacy, for lack of the better word, of people in my life. Number one, especially my new boyfriend, who is just it is like weird to say my boyfriend. Uh, but he has his own life and his own thing. I don't think he has a YouTube channel. I don't think he's aware of this YouTube channel, and maybe one day he will. Um, in the same way that I kind of extend a bit of privacy to my daughter. I don't talk about my daughter really on this channel. Um, I try to keep the focus kind of on me, which is not because um, I'm definitely egotistical, but you know I try to keep it I can talk about my reactions maybe to something, but I'm not here to talk about expose or talk. You know what I mean? It's like I want to have a kind of a comfortable silo here. Uh, we're not to go into, excuse me, it's my bra. Um, not to go talk about stuff you don't want to share. So anyway, just some good news. Some good news. I even put on some lipstick. But yeah, let's talk about kind of what some things that are goings on. About 3 weeks ago, I kind of made a generalization that I was never going to find anybody, and I was always going to be alone, and da 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 da, boohoo, poor me. And God heard that, and as I'm sure you're aware of, God has this great sense of humor, and if you give God enough leeway, a joke will come out of it. And anyway, so uh, I uh, a person reached out to me on Facebook, and I had some good conversations with them. And it turns out that they have kind of been following me for a while on Facebook, and a little bit of distant um, interest, for lack of a better word, but just didn't quite know how to articulate it, and perhaps maybe a little bit of trepidation. Um, didn't know how I would react, da 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 da. And I'm very glad that they reached out to me, and I had made a video not that long ago talking about how I wanted to be pursued, I wanted to be chased, I wanted to be wooed as the stereotypical women in my past that maybe I pursued. I actively, that doesn't mean stalking, that doesn't mean creepiness, just means, a boy chases a girl until she catches him, as the saying goes. Ooh, and I have a spasm in my back. You might hear me do that. I don't know what that is from, but it hurts. So we'll keep that. If I kind of jerk a little bit, that's just my back spasming out. So, good news, excitement, happiness, all of the above. Yes, I have a boyfriend, and that's kind of a neat thing to say. It's kind of a neat thing to think about. And just kind of last night, kind of made it official. I changed my Facebook, um, you know, bing, in a relationship, which kind of I've always wanted to do and have never been able to do. And um, so just kind of nice. And we're just kind of picking up speed. We're interested in each other, and we've moved kind of beyond initial friendship phase, and we're moving into boyfriend girlfriend, and that's just kind of neat. And definitely a time of being very grateful, as I said, to God and the goddess. Again, if you give enough flexibility, God is going to give you a really good joke, hopefully a good joke. And my friend is just awesome. And we're just going to call them my friend. I'm not going to tell you who they are. Um, so anyway, what can I tell you about? Um, First of all, and this is not giving away too much information, um, they are trans man, which means that they are a female to male transgender person. They are currently undergoing their transition, and it is just kind of neat to see. I'm not going to say the other end of the coin, but the things that maybe I wish I had when I was born that they have that they wish they didn't have, and the things that maybe I got rid of. Ooh, there's another back spasm. I'm just gonna keep my hand on it. You know, they wish I had what I gave away, and I wish I had what are about to give away. So it's just kind of an interesting dichotomy, maybe. Just kind of an interesting way of looking at things. And up front, uh, I'm very not going to say cautious, but I want to give them the latitude by which they have the freedom to discover themselves and what they like and, excuse me, what they want to do. I kind of have felt in the past a little bit of trepidation when a friend of mine or someone I would read about would be, you know, in a relationship and they're transitioning and like they're kind of stunting their growth, for lack of a better word. You know, when you're single, you kind of have this wide open sandbox that you can explore relationships and sexuality and everything. And I think when we're kind of stuck in a relationship, there are certain expectations that might kind of limit those experimentations. And I'm not necessarily just talking about sex, I'm talking about societal expectations and um, perhaps some stereotypical gender assumptions and our roles as men or as women. And I want to make sure that my friend has this latitude, that they can be themselves and discover for themselves what they want, what they like, what they don't like, and very much up front, the realization that I may not be it. You know what I mean? I may not be the one for this person, for him. You know, his interests may change. He might decide that I'm too old, gray hair. He may decide that I'm not feminine enough. I don't know. You know, again, any number of reasons that it may not work out. But for the moment, pretty good relationship, pretty good. And with that flexibility, in the same way, um, I've never dated a trans man. I've never dated since my transition. Never been on a date since I transitioned. And so my transition has been or my experience is pretty much non existent. And so, by the same token, as I discover and explore and experience, he may not be the one for me. And so, I think mutually we understand that, and it's something to talk about. It's something that if a white or red flag goes up, we need to communicate it to the other person. So I think we have a very responsible, excuse me, mature approach to this. Uh, Speaking of maturity, we're both in our 40s. They're a little younger than I am. But, you know, physically old, er. However, mentally, um, as they are going through their transition um, with testosterone and everything, obviously they're going through a second puberty right now, much like I went through a second puberty, some 5 or 6 years ago. And so, in some respects, they are a little boy, a young man, I should say, not a little boy, a young man. Makes it sound like I'm into pedophilia or something. They are a young adult. They're going through this huge rebirth, puberty, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year old man. And even though I transitioned 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, I never had this romantic experience. My romantic socialization efficacy, for lack of a better word, my social currency. Okay, there's not a whole lot of romantic social currency in the Bank of Robin because I just don't have that experience. I've never, like I said, I've never dated as a woman with a man. I've never dated as a woman with a woman. I've never dated, period, since I transitioned. So I don't know. There are certain things in my transition that were just put on hold. You know, and there were parts of me obviously that changed and growed it did because of the hormones and everything else. Um, but there's a lot of me, a lot of facets of this person that I am that growth was put on hold. You know, your first kiss, your first um, those pangs of interest, were just put on hold, like frozen in time. You know, and I feel like uh, that little girl or young woman, in the same way that he is a young man, my inner young lady is maturing. Again, I changed a lot of things, but that social efficacy, you know, is growing, is learning, you know, and in the same way, trying to figure out, well, what do I like? Do I like to be kissed on the mouth? Do I like to be kissed other places? Do I like to be held? Do I like to be, again, all the things. And, something that makes me just so, I don't want to say excited because then you're going to say, oh, well, you're sexually excited, but makes me just giddy, giddy as a little schoolgirl, as the saying goes, is being, excuse me, sorry, belching, bad habit. Um, I'm able to explore and experience these things that up until 3 weeks ago, I had given up on. You know, that feeling in your heart where you just get so excited because you're thinking about the other person and you get a text from them and you're like, oh, I wonder how he's doing. All of these things that just they're so exciting. You know, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be able to experience them. And while there is the potential here for some, there's some potential here for some heartache if it doesn't work out. They say it's better to love and lost than have never loved to all. Which before I would kind of say, well, fuck you too. Um, it's an exciting time. Okay, again, I feel like a 14-year-old or a 15 or a 16-year-old girl reading the romance novel, and it could be a western. Usually they're a western or something, and the cowboy, he put his hat down on the table, and I could see his from his open shirt, his strong chest, and I hoped that he would hold me against him and tell me that I was beautiful, or something. Again, a granted romance novel, you're leading you're leading up to maybe a physical encounter, but it's that what I alluded to maybe in the other video of kind of being chased. It's the romance. I think that's what it is. It's the romance of it. You know, it's that, I could see across the room. He was looking around and he noticed me. Blah, 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 blah. Pitter patter, my little heart. Um, those are, ooh, sorry. Oh man, I shift. Sorry. I do have a slip disc in my back. I'm wondering if it's having fun with me now. Uh, anyway, so that's something I can share with you that doesn't give any personal information about anybody other than myself. And, you know, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where it's going to lead. This is definitely play it by ear. I'm making this up as I go, as Indiana Jones says. Plan? What plan? I'm making this up as I go. Um, you know, um, be living in the present moment. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after or the day after. One step at a time. One step at a time. There's a potential here that if it does work out and everything falls into place, um, maybe in a little bit of time, I could might move in. And if everything is cool with my daughter and everything is cool with life and everything is cool with school, there's a lot of things that have to mesh together and fit right. Um, it might be possible that I could be living with him, you know, in a year or whatnot. Obviously, go back to the romance novel, he swept me off my feet and he packed up my bags and I will live with him forever, you know. But there's a little bit of reality that comes in here. We have to let things take its course, which is very, very hard to do when you're in your 40s and you're like, Veruca Salt, but I want it now. I want it now. Not necessarily the from a sexual point of view, but just, that mental picture of a house, of a home, being with someone who appreciates you for who you are and who knows where you're coming from. And I think that is something that, um, again, my friend Jamie Cannon, smart angel that she is, she's a pretty girl. She's got a good brain on her shoulders. Um, she said something about dating in the community, and you know, someone who can appreciate where you're coming from, someone who, I mean, as open-minded as cis people can be, an ally, someone who knows firsthand what's it like to be born into a body and go, ah, something's wrong here. And kind of like I said at the start of the video, aware of the changes that might be coming that might write me out of the story. You know what I mean? Um, and so again, I think there's a lot of maturity to this, and where I am in my late 40s, um, you know, and some experience previously, um, to live in the present moment and to be aware of what could be and not be so focused on an outcome, maybe is a good thing. you know would I love it in the present moment? Would I love it if everything worked out well, and like I said, in so many months time everything falls into place and I move in with him and we start a family, not start a family, we're living in the house together, and maybe we get married eventually? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Kind of a dream come true. for an older trans woman or for a trans man to find someone who, again, will appreciate where they're coming from and understand the difficulties and accept some of the harsh realities of this existence. And that was something I kind of thought about as I was kind of driving around today. Um, Sorry, my voice. I don't like the resonance in my voice at all. But it's just because my voice is a little rickety, crickety today. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Yeah, it did. But um, without getting too graphical, there are limitations to our existence, you know. And I had made mention before, and here's where we're going to use some adult words. So if you're afraid of adult words, this is probably a good time to click off. Um, you know, um, my vagina is not very big. My vagina is doesn't quite have as big a diameter as I would like it to be, and it's not as deep as I would like it to be. That's just the way my body is. Okay. And so, my imagination before, and I was thinking about GCS and how about I was going to have this fully functional little red Corvette downstairs that could, someone could come along and drive me somewhere. That ain't going to happen, you know? And somewhat of the reality on the flip side is there really is not a good substitute. You can take a male genitalia and turn it inside out. You know, I don't have a sock I could show you, but I've done that before in other videos. Pull the sock inside out, you got a hole. It's not so easy in the other direction. And so someone who might be unaware of the procedure and some of the limitations, a trans man might be very depressed when they realize the limitations, as good as it's going to get. And so I think there is a bit of an understanding between a trans woman and a trans man that we're going to take our lemons and make lemonade, you we're going to do the best we can with what we have. And to appreciate and love the other person. I guess you don't have to be trans to do that. A woman who might fall in love with a man in a wheelchair who's, paralyzed from the waist down, you know, he will never have an erection. He will never, you know what I mean? It's like you love the person for who they are and you do what you can to get around certain limitations, you know, or someone who's intersexed or something again, you know, I know for me, and again, I'm only talking about myself, you know, uh, so much and this is very, let's say personal, but very truthful. So much of a climax for me is visualization, you know, and I've been told that that's very true for women in general. It's very emotional, it's very visualizing and fantasizing, perhaps, but it's a whole package, it's a whole deal, okay? Whereas for the fella, it's insert into a moist hole and repeat back and forth and you climax, you know. For a woman, it's very, very different, you know. And so again, I think, if you'll pardon such a graphic and probably vulgar simplification of it, for two people who are able to enjoy each other personally and to enjoy each other's limitations and qualification. I don't know. I don't know if I'm driving this bus to a good spot very clearly. You know, um, so we'll see. We'll see. Um, that's a huge step. That's a huge step. And I think not to belabor too much on it, but being able, like I said, to make lemonade with your lemons and to be grateful for what you do have, you know, and that's a harsh reality for this existence. To be a post-op trans, I can speak only from the trans woman side of things, um, because it's such a fallacy. You're like, I'm gonna have GCS and I'm gonna have lots of sex with lots of guys. Don't happen. I mean, you can wish in one hand and shit in the other. It just doesn't happen that way. You know, it's just we're not built that way. Um, and that just I think that's why there's so much post-op depression, because you're like, here I thought, even though countless people told me that how it was going to be, I didn't listen. You know, you make the best with what you have. And like I said, with again, I don't want to get personal information out there, so I'm going to use a generalization. Um, with a trans man, um, I can say I I get stimulated. Okay, I can be satisfied. You know, but for me, again, it's that romance. It's where I said I wanted to be wooed. It's that romance. It's terms of endearment, terms of affection. It's having your door open. Gentlemen. Having your door maybe open for you. Having someone to be there for you. You know what I mean? And that's, again, doesn't have to be man or woman or non-binary. Just courtesy. You know. And it's just, to me, it's such a blessing. And uh, if this plays itself out, it's definitely worth the wait. So anyway, but that's the update. That's kind of what's going on. And like I said, hopefully I'm not here to give away any personal details or put myself on any sort of pedestal. I'm just sharing with you kind of what's going on and kind of what's possible. And yeah, it's definitely kind of like I said, it's been neat. It's been so neat to just be the woman in a relationship, you know. Nothing sexual yet. No. Um, you know, but it's nice. It's very nice. I appreciate it. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful. If something was to happen to me tomorrow, the good Lord called me to kitty heaven, okay? And I would be an angel taking care of all the little cat angels. I would definitely have very happy memories of the last 3 weeks. I'll put it to you that way. I'm not ready to die yet. I've always said it's the last thing I want to do, but um, just sharing some positive. I'll share one joke with you. You know, I was thinking today at work somewhat about COVID and the Delta variant. And you know, kind of we're talking about the end of the world. And some people, I'm kind of surprised we don't have any like death cults or anything. Remember like when the comet came by and there were people that killed themselves thinking they would ascend to the comet, you know, religious cults or whatnot. I'm kind of surprised we don't have like a COVID, God's calling the faithful to him. Heaven's Gate, I think was the name of the people, the cult. But in the back of my mind, I thought about writing, I don't want to scare you all about the end of the world coming, but I had my first date this weekend. So strange things are coming. All right, on that note, I will turn this off. We just hit 30 minutes. Congratulations if you're on the treadmill. You just did 30 minutes. You're awesome. And hopefully, my voice will come back into play. Um, I do have a bit of a every once in a while the voice bug gets up my butt, and I there are just times I can't do it now. I mean, it would totally sound terrible if I did it now, but usually when I'm in the morning with my kitty cats, um, I do kind of goof around in my upper register voice, and there's a part of me that wants to do that and kind of leave this voice behind a little bit, and maybe that's being a little fake. I don't know. This, like I said, this is the voice I've had all my life. Other than the raspiness, but there's just part of me that's I just love that, you know. If the physical transition gets you to one point, kind of the feminine voice um, just adds a little more, takes it to 11. You know what I mean? Takes it to 11, just one more point, and I almost wonder if maybe that's on the horizon. Um, and we probably could talk about this for another 5 minutes, but I think somewhat of my persona, for lack of a better word, is because my daughter is still in school, and my current operating system somewhat well. And I'm not on estrogen, which we could go into that too right now. I hope to get back on estrogen within the next 2 weeks. It's been over 2 years since I've had a blood clot, and I miss it so much. I miss being on estrogen. Oh, so much. Estrogen is like a warm blanket. Just feels so good. Um, but I almost wonder if my voice and kind of some of my demeanor is kind of a holdout of the father figure element to my daughter. And if she was to grow up and move out and it was just me, then my little Irish woman speaking voice that I do with my cats, that might become my permanent voice, you know. And I let a lot of this other go bye bye. This is a very comfortable working environment for me, but I wonder if I was to move on, kind of like a chapter in a book, I would be closing a chapter and moving on to the next one. And that might be something again for me and my husband. If this my friend becomes my husband, um, he might let me do that. But obviously, right now with my raspy little voice, does not sound very feminine. Does not sound like a narrator. Um, and then the other thing too is my D&D game. I do enjoy voicing my NPCs, my non-player characters. And for those of you that don't play role-playing games, is that the game referee, me, I run everyone else. And so the player might decide, oh, I'm gonna be a fighter with a Scottish accent, or I'm gonna be da 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 with this kind of accent, or this is my personality, and so their inflection and their intonation and their their word choice, their pitch might change a little bit to represent themselves in the game. Kind of how you can have an actor or an actress that, in one movie they're playing an American, and the next movie they're playing a Scottish fighter from the Middle Ages, and the next movie they're playing a British, it's acting. And my role is to play everyone else in the game. So while there's 5 or 6 people playing themselves, playing a role, I'm playing everybody else. I'm all the background people. And so I like that, having that flexibility. And obviously, I use a low register and raise my voice to a higher register, and I'm everywhere in between. Uh, and I think my voice is somewhere here. And if I was to raise it just ever so much, it's just a matter of moving your voice up your, I'm going to say your larynx, but I don't think that's it. Um, if you ever had a slide whistle, and you blow on it, the longer the column of air, the deeper the pitch, right? And if you have a slide whistle and then you raise it up, well, that decreases the column of air, and so you have less of a waveform in there, and that's how you get a higher pitch. And so all it is just moving that up a little bit, and through muscle memory, your voice as it is just wherever you're used to talking. And after you do it, you kind of make a conscious effort. Then it's real easy to just speak out of that one spot. And so, like I said, I have a feeling this is a lot of this is for my daughter's benefit because I'm still her father. And there are days, much like today, where I had to be the father, and I slipped back into where I was 7 or 8 years ago because I was being a parent. And I wonder if when that kind of day to day role kind of changes, like I said, if she was to move out or go about her own life, um, you know, it might be time to put this to bed. And much like I transition my body, transition my voice a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. It doesn't sound fake, I promise, when I do it. Of course, you've seen other videos on this channel that sound terrible. Mm. All right, on that note, good night. Good luck. Good luck in becoming your authentic self as you define it. Don't let anyone tell you who to be or what you are. You figure it out for yourself. And you'll probably enjoy the results more. Bye bye.